I had a decision to make once. Not a big one. Where to go for a walk, and that's it. And I spent 40 minutes thinking about it. Which way to go, how long, what if it rains? What if I picked the wrong road and felt like I waste my time? What if I should be doing something more useful instead of walking at all? What if a walk is just a way to avoid a real work? I didn't go in the end. I ran out of time. And I spent the rest of the day with this strange feeling. Like I had failed at something. Like I had made the wrong choice. Even though I hadn't made any choice at all. That was the moment I saw it clearly. I don't have a decision problem. I have an overthinking problem. And I think many people have the same problem, they just don't call it that. Most people think overthinking just means thinking too much. Like, the answer is simply think less. But I don't think that's really what it is. Overthinking is not about how much you think. It's about what the thinking is doing. Normal thinking moves you forward. You look at the problem, you think about your options, you make a choice, and you act. The thinking has a job, and when it's done, it stops. Overthinking is different. It doesn't move you forward. It keeps you in the same place. You think about your options, and then you think about them again. You make a choice in your head, and then change your mind. And you never act. Because acting feels scary, but thinking feels like you are doing something. But that's the trap. Thinking feels like work. You feel like you are being careful, responsible. But there is a big difference between thinking that helps and thinking that just goes and go. Good thinking stops at some point. It reaches a conclusion, it moves. The other kind just keeps going. Every question leads to 2 more questions. Every answer creates a new problem. And you stay exactly where you started. Here's the thing that changed how I see all of this. Overthinking is almost never really about the thing you are thinking about. It is about avoiding that feeling of knowing what will happen. When you are thinking, nothing has happened yet. Nothing has gone wrong. You haven't made a choice. Nobody can judge you. The moment you decide and act, that changes. Now it's real. Now it's something could go wrong. Now it could be wrong. Thinking keeps you safe from that. So your brain keeps thinking, not because it is getting closer to an answer, but because thinking feels safer than doing. Overthinking is very often just fear, but it looks like thinking. To understand overthinking, you need to understand one thing about how the brain works. The brain's main job is not to make you happy. It is not to help you grow. It is not to build a good life for you. Its job is to keep you safe, to find danger, to avoid bad things. And to the brain, not knowing what will happen feels like danger. If you have never done something before, started something new, had a hard conversation, made a big choice, your brain doesn't know if it's safe. So it does what it always does. It sends a warning. It asks questions. It tries to find what could go wrong. This is very useful if you are about to touch something hot, or step in front of a car. It is not very useful when you are trying to decide whether to send an email. But your brain does not easily know the difference. It sees something new and unclear, and it reacts. More thinking, more questions, and more caution. And here is the frustrating part. More thinking does not make things clearer. It just creates more things to think about. You think about option A, you find 3 problems with it. And you move to option B, and then you find 2 problems with that. And then you are wondering if there is some option C. What if you are missing something important? Trying to find a clear answer through thinking never ends. Because that clear feeling does not come from thinking. It comes from doing. You don't get that clear feeling before you start. You get it after you start. When you are actually in it. When things are real. But the brain does not want to hear that. The brain wants to feel safe before it moves. So it keeps making more thoughts, hoping, and the unclear feeling will go away. It doesn't. And so you stay stuck, thinking, waiting for a clear sign that was never going to come. I want to talk about what overthinking really takes from you. Because I think we don't see the full cost. The easy one to see is time. Hours, sometimes days, going in circles instead of doing something real. That matters. But there are other costs, and I think there are worse. The first one is energy. Overthinking is tiring. Not in the same way that hard physical work is tiring. It is more quiet than that. More like a slow leak. You can spend a whole day inside your head, making no choices, doing nothing really hard, and at the end of the day feeling completely empty. Because your mind was running the whole time, it just wasn't going anywhere. And when you are tired, the next decision feels even harder. So you think even more, and you get even more tired. It becomes a loop. And the second cost is the one I think about the most. Believe in yourself. Every time you overthink and then don't act, you teach yourself something. You teach yourself that you can trust your own choices, that you need more time, more information, more proof before you are allowed to move. And slowly that lesson becomes something you believe. I am someone who always second guesses. I am someone who can't make decisions. I just think too much, that's who I am. You start to see it as a part of you, who you are. Like you were born this way. Like it can change. But it is not who you are. It is something you learn to do. A pattern you practiced many times without knowing it. And patterns can change. Not quickly, not without effort, but they can. And the third cost is the hardest one to see when you're in it. Lost chances. Every month you spend thinking instead of doing is a month when nothing happened. The projects didn't start, the conversation never happened, the decision was never made. And life keeps moving anyway. Without you deciding anything, time passes. And one day you look back and think, I spent 2 years thinking about this, and I'm still in the same place. That is the cost nobody talks about. Not a bad decision, not failure, just standing still 4 years. I'm not going to tell you to just stop overthinking. That doesn't help. If you could just stop, you would have already. But there are things that actually work. things I use myself. Not tips from a book. Real changes in how I deal with decisions. The first one, give each decision only as much time as it deserves. This sounds simple, but people who overthink tend to treat almost every decision like it is a very important life choice. Where to eat, which road to take, which version of a message to send, what to watch tonight. The small decisions get the same weight as the big ones, and that is tiring. It also makes the real big decision feels even harder, because you're already worn out from everything else. So I started setting a time limit based on how much decision actually matters. Small decision, I don't know, maybe 2 minutes, sometimes 30 seconds. I pick something and move on. Medium decisions, maybe an hour, maybe a day. It depends. Big decision, a week, maybe 2 if I've got time. And when the time is up, I decide. I pick something and go. Because for most decisions, a choice that is a little bit wrong but made quickly is better than a perfect choice made 6 months from now. By the time you spend 6 months deciding, you have lost more than any small mistakes would have cost you. The second one, change the question. Overthinking has a question it loves to ask. It asks it over and over again. What if this gone wrong? And that question has no end. You can always find a new way something could go wrong. Every answer leads to new worry. Every new worry makes you less likely to move. I change the question. Now I ask, what is it costing me to not decide? Because there is always a cost to staying stuck. You just don't feel it right away, so you don't count it. The cost is hidden in the moment. It only show up later, when you look back and see how much time passed. So I try to make that cost real before I decide. What am I losing by waiting 1 more month? What does another 6 months of thinking about this cost me? That questions gets things moving. The third one, start before you're feeling ready. This one is hard to accept, because it goes against everything overthinking tells you. Overthinking says, get more information, think harder, wait until you are sure. But you don't get that clear feeling before you start. You get it from the starting. You learn more from doing something once, even badly, even with mistakes, than from thinking about it for a year. The answer you need are waiting on the other side of starting. They are not available before. I have started things I was not ready for. And in almost every case, I work it out as I went. Not because I had a perfect plan, but because doing it gave me something that thinking never could. Being ready is mostly something you feel looking back. You look back and think, okay, I figured it out. I got through it. I was ready enough. But before you started, you did not feel ready at all. There is something under all of this that I want to say clearly. Because if you only take the practical things from this video, time limits, better questions, starting before you're ready, you might miss the most important part. Overthinking, when you go deep enough, is usually about one thing. Fear of getting it wrong. Fear that if you make the wrong choice, the wrong path, the wrong words, the wrong decision, something bad will happen. You will look stupid. You will waste time. You will let someone down. You will regret it. And that fear is real. And I'm not saying it's silly. Making the wrong choice does have results. Decisions matter. But here's what I keep coming back in my own life. The things I regret most are not the thing I tried and I got wrong. They are the things I never tried. Because I was too busy to thinking about whether I should. The conversation I kept putting off. The projects I keep planning but never starting. The change I knew I needed to make but spent years thinking about instead of doing. Those are the regrets, not the failures. Because a wrong choice, made and learned from, moves you somewhere. It gives you something real. It changes you. It builds something, even if that something is just knowing what does not work. But overthinking keeps you in place, safe, still. And standing still for months, for years, for a whole decade has a cost too. I still overthink things. I want to be honest about that. There are still days when I go in circles, when I spend too long on a decision that doesn't deserve that much attention. But I catch it faster now. I notice when thinking has stopped helping. When I'm going in circles not because I need more information, but because I'm afraid to move. And then I try to just go, even if I'm not sure, even if the step is small. Because any movement, any at all, breaks the loop. And once you start moving, even slowly, even badly, something changes. You stop being someone who is waiting to be ready. You become someone who figures out along the way. If this felt familiar, if you saw yourself in any part of this, let me know in the comments. I'm curious how many people feel this way but never say it. Thanks for watching, guys. I will see you in the next one.